All right. It is Saturday. So, Jesus. No, it ain't. I ain't reliving yesterday again. I can tell you that. It's Sunday. It's Sunday, November
And we were
9th.
off to such a good start.
Yeah. Sunday, November 9th, 2025. We got sorry, you might be able to hear the Giants game in the background. Pardon me. Go, go Giants. Kicking some bear ass. No, okay. Anyways,
Bear down.
no, they
The
can.
Bears are down.
They are. They're down
Hmm.
big. About to be down more. They just gave up what, a 20-yard run to Jackson Dart? Oh no, it was only like 15. I just caught the back end of it.
Hmm.
Ran a bootleg with Dart from the fucking 50 and got like 15 yards out of it. I'll tell you what, and I'm not. This is an NFL show. I'm not gonna make it one, but Dable has done a really good job of sticking to his word. He's using Jackson Dart exactly the way he thought he was going to use Josh Allen. Hard to be mad about the start that we've had with him. I'm not. I mean, the injuries have killed. I think a team that could probably be 4-5 right now, maybe even
Yeah.
5-4. But hard to be too mad about where things are,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
all things considered. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk college football, as this is a college football show after all. Welcome in, by the way.
Sounds
This is
good to
Armchair
me.
Analysis Sunday recap show, 3 p.m. Man, we're a little late. But
I
we
was
got
gonna
a
say, did you say 3 p.m. yesterday? I thought it was what you'd said at the end there.
yeah. Ignore the 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. at the bottom down there.
Yeah, that
That's
was Saturday, Sunday, whenever we feel like it, right?
well, just for this weekend apparently. My my exhaustion meter's kind of rising. So not with the sport, but with life
Hey, if you
itself.
want if you want a 10 a.m. Eastern show every weekend, you got to figure out a way to contribute to Isley's personal fund so that he doesn't have to work these graveyards on the weekends,
Yeah.
and we can have a show that runs on time and on schedule.
If only. If only.
If only, if only.
But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about some of these big storylines from yesterday. We have plenty of them to talk about, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't start with the arguably biggest ones, and that is the survival of the fittest in a sense. Oregon and Indiana both survived scares on the road yesterday, and
Yeah.
let's go ahead and start with the one that ended first because I feel like both of these games had incredible endings and incredible storylines to go through.
Hmm.
But Indiana wins on what was probably a catch of the year candidate, if not the catch of the year, by Omar Cooper. Toe
Hmm.
tap in the back of the end zone. Win the game
They deserved it.
27-24. But how did we get there, right? This game, first half, 3 quarters, dominated by Indiana. It was 20-10 going into the fourth quarter, and it felt like Indiana was
Yeah.
really in control, going to pull away, probably score a late touchdown, cover, do their typical Indiana thing, right?
Hmm.
And then next thing we know, here comes Indiana getting back into it. And one thing I really noticed was this is the Andy Kotelnicki offense that we thought we were getting. That's what we saw
Yeah.
yesterday. Now, part of that probably comes from just having a young quarterback and being able to throw caution to the wind because what's it going to hurt at this point? But
Right.
Ethan Grunkemeyer is a local prospect for me. Olentangy High School, a school that I played against in my high school time. And this kid's really smart, plays a really good brand of football, and what we saw was again, Kotelnicki kind of went back to the Kansas thing, right? Like getting the running backs involved, or getting just your talented players involved. You would see him
Hmm.
scheme open guys all day at Kansas with Jalen Daniels at quarterback, and that's kind of what we just saw yesterday, and that storms them back into this game. They take a 24-20 lead after two
Yeah.
really impressive drives, really great, well called drives.
And one short field because of a Mendoza pick that's not something you get to see a whole lot of. Fernando
Yeah,
Mendoza has really done a good job
you
in
know
limiting those extra possessions that
that
teams usually don't get against Indiana this year.
that game yesterday reminded me a lot of some of the things that you'll see in like a video game, right? The momentum swings. Everybody talks about it in
Hmm.
college football 26, right? Like the game swings momentum big time. That's what we saw yesterday. We saw a big momentum swing towards Penn State after Indiana really just dominated the whole game. And next thing you know, a couple plays work out. Penn State gets back in this game. It's 20-17. And then the interception happens, and here we go again. Penn State drives down, scores. It's now 24-20. They're like, okay, this is where it's going to happen. They're turning this thing around. This is the signature win for Penn State in 2025. This is going to be their first Big Ten win in 2025.
This is their first FBS win. Or,
that's not true.
Power 4, I should say.
Yes. But then Fernando Mendoza comes out and says, hang on, I'm still a Heisman candidate. I'm still in the conversation. And we'll talk more about the Heisman conversation. We're not getting into that now. I have a whole thing planned for that, right? But he said, hey, look, I am still a Heisman candidate. This is still the Indiana team, and we're going to show you we can march it down the field in a short amount of time. And that's exactly what they did. With under 2 minutes to go, they take the ball down the field, score late. Penn State gets the ball with a little opportunity and unable to take advantage.
But do you remember how the Indiana game-winning drive started, Tyler?
I'd be lying.
Penn State sacks Fernando Mendoza. That first play, they're backed up like inside their own 10-yard line. The clock is running. They're out of timeouts, mind you. And they've got to go the length of the field in short order. And Mendoza just completes dot after dot and works his way with surgical precision. That was a game, like you could say if Penn State had held on and won, I think you could have said that Indiana choked it away because, like you said, the way that they were dominating in the first 3 quarters, it would lead you to believe that they, would be able to go in and do what they normally do in these type of games, find a way, pull it out, and just kind of no mercy their opponent. But that's not the case. You could, if Penn State had won that game, you could fully had said that Indiana choked it away. But that was a game that even with the Penn State comeback, Indiana just went and won that game. I don't think there was anything about Penn State choking it away there at the end. Indiana, Mendoza just, flawless almost on that final drive. And like you mentioned, the catch of the year candidate with whatever Gus Johnson's cold, thin voice was doing there at the end. I'm not sure, but
I can tell you, but it's definitely not safe for TV. I don't. That's one thing I know for sure.
Well, even before that, I mean, you're like you go back and watch maybe like
the whole game was a not safe for work ad. I mean, that's really what it was.
Especially like the last 10 minutes. It's one of those like he on a non-touchdown run was like I can't even describe it because it's so icky what it sounded like, but
I gotta say I'm definitely joining the Gus Johnson fatigue. Because the thing is, it's not just a Gus Johnson thing. It's a lot of people are starting to do that in their commentary, and that's just not. It's not my thing. That's not to say it's not anybody else's thing, but it's just not my thing. No. Like, I am a very big fan of Joel Klatt. I'm always going to watch the Big Noon Game just because I love what he has to say. And really look at him as somebody who I think knows the game to a level with which, it's kind of a warranted guy to listen to. But when it comes to commentary, I kind of like the more subtle, let the game, let the crowd, let the environment do the talking for you versus doing the talking over the environment when you can't even, like, for example, I'm a big fan of Al Michaels. Love the way he calls games. Chris Fowler's one that I really like. McDonough, Joe Test, like, I like those guys, but they know when to let the crowd do, they let the environment can do the talking over them in some moments. Yeah. It's just personal preference. But it feels like every Fox announcer does this same thing, because even Brando does this shit, and it's like, holy hell. Yeah. Just
hello, how do you do?
Take a breather.
Right. If it's legitimate, I mean, and I'm not meaning to question that, Gus is not a legitimate announcer. There was not.
Oh, I'm not calling it illegitimate. I'm calling it too much.
No,
That's all I'm doing.
and I'm in agreement with that, and that might be the problem where people think it's illegitimate, like it's too over the top. And as somebody that when I get to do a high school game, I do have legitimate excitement. I also know kind of to temper my expectations, like my if I'm calling a game that a team should win convincingly, I'm not going to be over the top on every call or anything like that, and you shouldn't be. But if you're in a position where there's a championship on the line in some form or facet, you should absolutely be in a position to bring your the top of your craft and try to give it the proper respect and appreciation for the moment. And it would have been, I think, one of those. If Penn State had won yesterday, it would have been one of those, you know, not turning point victories, but it would have been a potential future builder for whoever the next guy is going to be over there. And to showcase, like, hey, even when we're down, you cannot count out this crowd, this environment. It doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be faced with a daunting task when you come to Beaver Stadium and play the Nittany Lions. And so from that respect, I think that the way that that game ended, there was a lot of just my goodness type of moments. But it is one of those things that you could understand why people would question it, because not everything can be, oh my gosh, kind of deal.
Yeah. Now, back to the game for a second. I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the heroics of one Charlie Becker yesterday. Multiple 50-50 catches, multiple big plays. By the way, he had 7 receptions for over 100 yards. I'll get a specific number here for you in a
118
minute.
leading receiver by either team.
Yeah, and this is an Indiana team that I expected to run the ball a little better. Only 108 rushing yards, only 3.5 per carry. They really had to do their dirty work essentially through the air, and it came on the back of Charlie Becker. It came on the back of Omar Cooper with the big catch at the end of the game, which he had 6 for 32 yards. That was the biggest one of the game. 22 of 32 receiving yards come through that play.
There was no Surratt in the game.
There was he went down early. He had a hamstring injury early in the game that took him out. He didn't return, and everything kind of just went against this Indiana team, and they still fought through and took care of business at the end of the day. In this college football season, we're starting to see that winning is really just the most important thing. If you continue to win your games, then really there's not going to be any such complaint about what you do, because everybody has had struggle games. Everybody's had strugglesome moments, and everybody's had points with which they have been challenged. The only team that really hasn't, and it's no fault of their own, the schedule has not really worked out to that potential, is Ohio State. They haven't been challenged at all by anybody on both sides. They weren't even really challenged then. The offense was, but the defense wasn't even close to challenged in that game. They were going to win that game if they would have scored 3 field goals. I mean, they just did what needed to be done, and they've done that all year long. They're probably, I think, they're proven in the sense that they're doing their job and they're taking care of the business that's in front of them. But I think they're the most unproven team in this top 5 conversation, in the sense that they just haven't gotten anybody. They haven't gotten anybody's best yet. Just plain simple. That's not a dig at Ohio State. I think they're the best team in the country. I keep ranking them number 1. But I definitely think there's a conversation to be had about what they might do in the playoffs, and what's going to happen when they play a more dynamic offense, because they're not going to face one at all the rest of the season. The rest of the way, they are kind of scot-free on what they're going to face. So we'll see what it brings to the table. I do not know off the top of my head who their next game is, and I probably should.
It's UCLA at home next Saturday night. That's the NBC game, if I'm not mistaken.
They're not going to be challenged. Before the Michigan game, they will not be challenged. And I don't rightly know that Michigan's going to do it either. I just don't. I have a friend who has been very very adamant that I just need to that he needs to see Ohio State win. As an Ohio State fan, he's adamant he needs to see Ohio State win. He's still counting Michigan as a loss this year, and I just can't. I don't know how anybody believes that. Now I didn't know it last year, but I certainly don't this year. It just feels like the team is too inconsistent. At least with last year's team, we knew what they did and they did it well. This year, it feels like they try to go back and forth, and we've seen different things. Also, not healthy in the secondary is going to be a problem. Like Ohio State's probably not going to be challenged until the Big Ten title game. And to be completely honest, they probably aren't going to be challenged until they face somebody like A&M. I mean, it's just it's not going to happen until they play somebody else in a different conference later in the year. So we'll talk more about them later on, though.
Yeah.
But a big win for Indiana. They remain unbeaten.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go forward. Now that we sit here about 15 minutes in, Oregon survives Kinnick Stadium, 18-16. I mean, that is, if you want to draw up what does Iowa do when a top 15 team comes to town, that's your blueprint. They get them in early November. They get a little snow, a little weather, and they make this thing ugly until it happens. And somebody's either going to match the ugliness or they're going to lose. Michigan lost back in 2017, I believe it was.
16? Something like that.
I think it was one of the two, and the reason that game's important was because that took Michigan out of the playoff that year. That would have been the first year we saw two teams from a conference in the playoff was that year because Michigan lost. It would have been Ohio State and Michigan because Ohio State was ultimately in the playoff that year.
It would have been 2016 then, right? Because that was the 2 versus 3 showdown. Double overtime game.
That makes a little more sense.
It was short.
Makes a little more sense. But anyways,
because Michigan had beaten Penn State had beaten Ohio State.
Yeah, that might. Yeah, I don't know. Not trying to think too hard.
Like
I'm not trying to overthink at the moment.
Right.
But with this specific game, that's exactly what we got. We got ugly. We got make things tough, difficult. The crowd was in the game. But here's the little story I want to tell you. Okay, here's a few stats I want to throw out there for you. Not just you, BJ, but the entirety of those who watch this. Passing yard numbers. 138 to 112. Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Rushing yards. 261 to 101. Oregon. If you told me those stat lines, I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, I highly doubt that Iowa outpasses Oregon. But I also would have thought that 261 to 101 was the passing yard numbers versus the other. This was like Oregon had to settle in and play, and again, match the ugly essentially in this one. And a great drive at the end of the day. Now, this would have been, Iowa would have outpassed Oregon by over 60 yards had that final drive not happened. Yeah. That's a stat that if you tell me that stat prior to the game and nothing else about this game, if you tell me Iowa outgains Oregon through the air by 138 to 112 and the majority of Oregon's yards in the air come on that final drive, over half of them come on that final drive,
Iowa wins.
I'm telling you Iowa wins, and I'm saying it's probably a score or two, like a touchdown or two. But then you tell me Oregon wins 18-16. Okay, let's dig deeper. What a game this was. Right. I mean, look, Iowa played the perfect brand of football to get this thing done. Unfortunately, Oregon has a coach who is a nutcase and does not care what situation they're in, and is now 7-1 in games decided by 3 points or fewer as the Oregon head coach. That is a hell of a stat. Yeah. It's incredible. Dan Lanning is the home run hire that everybody wishes they could make. All of these teams, all these 50 teams that are entering their names into the coaching carousel are hoping they'll make the Dan Lanning hire. I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably not happening. But
who the hell was Dan Lanning before he became the Oregon head coach, though? Like that's the thing that everybody
you can answer.
Wants. Everybody wants Dan Lanning now, but nobody wanted him before Oregon took a chance on him after he was the special teams coach for the Georgia Bulldogs, and they won back-to-back national championships.
Well, that could be
I mean,
fair.
somebody's got to take a shot. If you want the next, Dan Lanning, you sometimes you have to be willing to take a chance on somebody that's not done it at the head coaching level
Now I'm
yet.
going to tell you that the incorrect part of what you just said was
It was not
special
special
teams. It
teams.
was defensive
Yeah,
coordinator.
that's
But
I said special teams, and then I immediately was like, wait, was he? And
watch,
I knew he was a part of the Georgia staff.
look at what this team did following. Look at what Georgia was from 2018 to 21. Okay, those are the years with which he was at Georgia. He was a linebacker coach in 2018, then he was a linebacker and defensive coordinator from 19 to 21. 22-23, Oregon has, or Georgia has two of the best defensive years. I mean, 21 was a national championship year. 22, they made the playoff. 23 was a little regression. 24 has been a little regression,
Yeah.
and 25 has been a little regression. We know what Dan Lanning was. We didn't know to what extent because we knew that Georgia was bringing in talent, but we now on the back end know. I think somebody's going to have to make that kind of move. Somebody's going to have to make that kind of hire. Obviously, Will Stein has been on the hot board for a lot of teams, especially teams that are a little bit lower in this conversation. Will Stein's going to open up. Who was Kenny Dillingham before Arizona State? Oh, just the offensive coordinator at Oregon. And Kenny Dillingham is one of the names in some of these searches in the SEC right now. So, I mean, look, they're hard to say, but I think that there's teams that are looking for that name, right? So there's teams that are looking for that person who's going to come in and take that over. We'll see what happens, but certainly what a coach and what a game this turned out to be. Again, Oregon with an 18-16 ugly win on the road.
Yeah, and give Dante Moore some big time kudos, because not only did he persevere in that whiteout environment back when Penn State was looked at as a legitimate threat at the beginning of the month of October, and go on the road and get that road win in overtime. But his poise in that final drive down a point after Iowa had gone down almost the entirety of the field through the air and making some really good plays. Obviously, Gronowski, make sure that he's not forgotten his ability to make those throws on what looked like it could have been a game-winning drive for the Hawkeyes yesterday. And then the 4th and goal, spreading them out and going quarterback draw. But Dante Moore answered and got them in range with a great throw up the right seam to get them into field goal range and set up what ultimately would prove to be the game-winning field goal. I mean, it's been some hit or miss at moments for him, but he has been poised, especially in some of these big-time road environments, and had just enough for what they needed there at the end to win that game yesterday.
Yeah, 37 of 112 passing yards came on that final possession for Oregon.
Yeah.
So big deal
Crazy.
there. Now I'm
almost a third. Yeah, third of the game total.
I am
or over third.
Just a little scared now. Russell Wilson's in the game, and I don't know why.
Oof.
Well, we're losing. All right. Anyways, I can now take my eyes completely off of that.
Nice to know you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to another big storyline. Texas Tech. I'm going to use the term overwhelms BYU yesterday. Look, that was kind of the answer we were looking for, right? BYU, can they continue to be comfortable? Can Bear Bachmeier stay poised throughout the course of the game? And the one thing that we realized was that if they can't run the ball and it has to be put on the shoulders of the freshmen, it's not quite there yet. We're not quite in that position. Now he's done a great job all year, and he's taken the load in a lot of places. Pause, I think. Anyways, but he certainly put a lot of the weight on his shoulders, I should say, right? And in doing so, I think it's created I don't know, a bit of an overconfidence, maybe, and what he's able to do, at least for me. I mean, look, I certainly was very confident that they would at least stay in this game because of what he's done and how good he's played all year long. But the one thing that must be said is this team only ran for 67 yards. That's kind of a stat that we're talking about. If BYU's under 100 rushing yards, this game's not close. And 67
Yeah.
rushing yards, they're only averaging 2.5 a carry, not even getting a first down on every 3. And on top of that, losing the turnover battle 3-0. I think that's where it really comes away. This Texas Tech team is damn good. And I think that people overlook that and certainly are going to overlook that as time goes on. I don't think nobody's ever doubted Texas Tech as a contender in the Big 12 or the championship favorite in the Big 12 as time has gone on this season. But I think people certainly got lost in the fact that they did lose to Arizona State on the road. Certainly got lost in the fact that they did look beatable at one point. But they came out of this bye week last week and just flat out dominated. I mean, that was the performance we expected of Texas Tech.
And here's the thing, it could have been so much worse. I mean, how many opportunities were they in BYU territory and they had to settle for 3 or 4 field goals? I mean,
I think that's a credit to the BYU defense, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why this game was going to stay close if it did, and why, as long as it did. It's just BYU couldn't answer on the opportunities they had to really put themselves into in successful situations. They didn't stay ahead of the chains very much at all in the game. Nothing really worked the way it should have. That's a big credit to Texas Tech, and this team is certainly. I'm going to go ahead and kind of say it at this point, now that we've seen more and more of these games where they just dominate. Their one loss is on the road against Arizona State. Okay. They almost came back and won that game, by the way, showing the talent that they have. But
and probably should have.
In the process of this entire season, I think they're proving themselves as not only a contender for the Big 12, not only a playoff contender, but I think they might genuinely be capable of going and competing in the playoffs and taking out a big name team. I don't know if they're quite capable of getting to the semifinals or even the national championship game, but I certainly think there is potential for them to maybe make it that far. I think they're going to win out. I think they're going to win the Big 12 championship, and we'll see where they end up. Do they get a bye going into the playoffs? Who knows? It depends on where the biases in this new system lie. But for right now, this is certainly a team that I think we keep a lot more eyes on going forward and how they're taking care of their business.
Let me ask you this. Let me pose this question.
Great. Obviously, I asked the questions here. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay, so if we're looking at it this way, in all likelihood, Texas Tech is going to get either BYU or Cincinnati, maybe an outside chance that Houston sneaks in there, though there's a couple different things that have to break their way. I think it's come down to those 3 teams that will face Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. Let's say BYU runs the table, which would include a road win at Cincinnati here, not this coming weekend, but the following. If BYU loses twice to Texas Tech, is that enough, with one of those being in the conference championship? Is that enough, depending on where the committee puts them here in this ranking, to say that they'd be that there would be 2 from the Big 12, or do we think that if they are unable to win the rematch, that Texas Tech is going to be the only Big 12 representative? Because for me, I'm having a hard time believing right now, based on what we saw yesterday. Now, Again, I think there's a possibility of it, but based on what we saw yesterday, I think Texas Tech is just that good, and I don't know that I think they're going to lose in the Big 12 championship. I don't know that I see too many reasonable variations that would allow for there to be more than just Texas Tech out of the Big 12 in the playoff picture.
Okay, so here's where I'm looking at it, right? The ACC is a 1-bid league. Conference champion, that's it. That's that. There's no question of that.
Yeah.
The SEC is probably going to be a 6-bid league, and I think that's a minimum. Oof. I think that's a minimum at this very moment. Who is our 7th SEC team? Would be a question I ask.
Mm-hmm.
Who's left of the Big Ten? I think the Big Ten is probably a 3, comfortable 3 right now, depending upon
how Oregon finishes.
Well, if Oregon loses to USC, I think the Big Ten remains at 3. because
Okay.
as USC is probably going to go 10-2. If they beat
Okay.
Oregon, they'd be 10-2.
Right.
We haven't entered the picture where the situation does remain possible that Michigan beats Ohio State and wins out and goes to the Big Ten title game. Is
Mm-hmm.
Michigan going to be punished for losing the Big Ten championship to Indiana? Probably. No, I don't think so. Not to say they can't beat Indiana, but I'm just throwing the labels out there, right?
Right.
The Big Ten's probably a 3-4 bid league. I would say the SEC sits between 5 and 7, depending upon what we get. The Big Ten's somewhere between 3 and 4, and I think there's no more than 4 and no less than 3, personally, given the schedules remaining.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem would lie, does Oregon lose late to Washington after Washington lost here to Wisconsin? That would probably throw the Big Ten off a little bit, but we won't go too far into the weeds there.
Right.
The Big 12, 1 or 2. It depends. Is Cincinnati 11-1 with a win over BYU? And in this conversation, or a one-loss at Big 12 team, I think they would be 11-1 still, though, at that rate.
Yeah, they would be 11-1 if they beat BYU and
so
they make it to AT&T.
Is Cincy 11-1 going to AT&T Stadium and they lose a close game to Texas Tech? Cincy probably gets a bid. And then the G5, we're getting one G5, and it's probably going to be JMU, maybe. Maybe North Texas if they win out, but I think JMU's probably, I'd say, coming close to being the odds-on favorite.
South Florida?
The Big 12 has a chance at 2. They have a chance at 2, the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
But it's going to require a one-loss team to walk in there and lose a close game in Arlington.
Okay.
If they lose, if it's 35-6, nobody's going to give a shit. It's plain and simple.
Fair enough.
All right, let's take a look here. ACC chaos is imminent in this conference. Virginia loses 16-9 to Wake Forest at home. The Cardiac Cavs can't get it done. 4th and goal inside the 10-yard line, and they don't get it. Fall.
Did I hear right that Chandler Morris went down in that game? Yeah,
I didn't catch enough of it, but that seems about right.
Daniel Kalen, 18 of 28, 145 yards for Virginia.
And it doesn't surprise me, the amount of use that he's had this year. Kind of, it's inevitable. Any quarterback that is getting beat up week to week like that just doesn't really make it the full way. A lot of players don't when they're taking that kind of a workload.
A beating, yeah.
But it's a tough one. Now, Duke, even though this is not a conference game, loses to UConn, so that's really opens up some intrigue for the game when they play. Cal beats Louisville 29-26 in overtime. Top 2 teams in the conference go down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wide
Georgia
open
Tech's
again.
Still alive. SMU, Pitt. I mean,
Virginia is still alive technically and can still win out. What a surprising day in the ACC. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on it because I do have a few more things I want to get to before we get out of here today. But, and just like that, Miami's now back in the conversation. I don't think Miami's I don't think Miami's going to get there, but it's still in play. Real quick, speaking of Washington, they lose 13-10 to Wisconsin. That's a tough one. They walked in as 11-point favorites and just couldn't get anything going offensively. Kind of what I said yesterday. They just struggle against teams that have a decent defense, and when the weather's bad, it really hurts their ability. So they take the loss there.
Wisconsin's leading passer was their punter.
Yep, 23
that just
yards.
Shows you how pitiful things were.
SEC real quick. Texas A&M and Missouri, 38-17 victory for A&M. They overwhelmed Matt Zollers to a point yesterday, but they really just shut down the run, forced Zollers to beat them. That is what it is. Bama controls all day.
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Jamal Roberts still, over 100 yards from Mizzou. Not the, the bell cow that you'd expect out of the Missouri rushing attack, because that would be Ahmad Hardy that you would think might have, had the great game, but it didn't matter at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Bama controls LSU 20-9. I'm really not surprised. We'll talk more about
No,
that a little later. Vandy with an overtime win over Auburn. They get the cover. Great. By the way, we went 6-4 and take 10 this week. That's our first positive week since week
look at
3.
that.
Um, so that's where I land there. Man, I don't know. I'm going to let you go ahead and go over some of the other scores from around the country. Take your time on whatever you
Okay.
feel necessary. And I'll be
All
back
right.
here momentarily. I just got to head upstairs to take care of something real quick.
Yeah, no worries. I guess we'll pick up with some of the. We talked about Ohio State. They were down 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, but it didn't end up really mattering. They were back up by 3 touchdowns by the end of the first half. Ohio State cruises over Purdue, who has the nation's longest active conference losing streak still going on. They are now 2-8 on the year as they fall 34-10 at home against Ohio State. And again, like I jokingly said yesterday, if it was Ohio State at number 2 and Indiana at number 1, Ohio State might have been in more trouble because that seems like the spoiler makers are only able to get the big dogs that are at number 2 as opposed to number 1. But it wouldn't have mattered regardless because Ohio State is just that good. Julian Sand, 27 of 33, 303 yards and a touchdown through the air. You also get Bo Jackson going off for about 5.5 or so yards per carry. He was 14 for 75 yesterday. And of course, Jeremiah Smith, 10 catches, 137 yards, a touchdown, ho hum kind of afternoon for him. So Ohio State 9-0. We talked about it. They've got UCLA. Then they get Rutgers. Both of those games are at home. They will be 11-0 in all likelihood going into the Michigan game for, I believe, well, it weren't last year, but they have been more often than not. This will be, I think, the third time out of the last 5 years that they will be 11-0 going into Ann Arbor, or well, going into the Michigan game. Georgia, they were down early. They gave up an opening drive touchdown to Mississippi State, and then they fumbled in their second drive that would have put them ahead, but didn't end up mattering. After the first quarter, Mississippi State was up 7-3. It was subsequently followed by a 38-14 showing from Georgia. They're on their way to a 41-21 victory. Gunnar Stockton throwing for 3 touchdown passes, all of which were, I believe, 2 of the 3 were 50-plus yarders, and you had a big touchdown run from Nate Frazier, like a 60-something yard scamper. This largest road conference win for Georgia since they went and beat Tennessee a couple of years ago. Georgia not even remotely worried after the first couple drives in that first half in terms of an upset or a trap game or getting caught looking ahead. They were locked in, giving the Mississippi State Bulldogs the proper respect and credit that you would expect to get, because it's one of those things that you take it one game at a time, and it seems that Kirby Smart has been one of those kind of coaches that is so good at instilling that in his players. So even with a possible look ahead or a letdown after that big emotional rivalry game with Florida, they were able to withstand it and get the victory over Mississippi State. We go on and press on to some other action. Nothing really to write home about in Oxford. Ole Miss shuts out the Citadel 49-zip, 29 of 33 for 333 yards and 3 touchdowns was Trinidad Chambliss. Just one of those things that you continue to say, man, if Ole Miss had gone to him to start the year, there would be no doubt that they probably, again, it's not to say that they didn't figure it out before it was too late, but their offense could have been clicking on all cylinders even quicker than they were. 49-0. Last 2 games going into the potential playoffs, because they're very unlikely at this point based on who they lost to, the Georgia game, and then who's in front of them, which is Georgia, who they lost to, and 2 undefeated conference teams in A&M and Alabama. There's very little shot that Ole Miss makes the SEC title game, even if they beat Florida and Mississippi State in their final two, but it's there's an outside chance of it. If somebody gets upset, there is a path for the Rebels to Atlanta. But if they take care of business, handle their own against the Gators and the Bulldogs of Mississippi State, they will find themselves in the playoff. So good on the Rebels there. They're 9-1. No real surprise. CJ Carr and Notre Dame are able to put away Navy. No Blake Horvath, but I don't really think it would have mattered for the midshipmen. Unfortunately, they were just outmatched, and so
Probably
Notre
would have
Dame
helped some
gets up.
momentum, but I doubt it
What's
would
that?
have. I said it probably would have helped a
Right.
little in terms of momentum, but just not
Yeah.
a big deal.
49-10, and I mean, here's the thing. You look at it. Navy is still in a position that they can get that G5 bid. I don't think that anybody's going to hold this loss against them. If they take care of business against South Florida, they win the American. They're in a position, especially if they can avenge that loss to North Texas that they had last week. They would certainly be, I think, a contender for it. And for Notre Dame, they are now the first team in almost a decade who are able to win 7 in a row after starting the season 0-2. So
Yeah.
Notre Dame, again, they've got a big showdown coming up this week. I know Tyler and Tyler for sure will probably be previewing it here this week. We'll talk about it Saturday morning when we get there, since it's all. I don't think they've announced game day yet. As we do this the show, they've still not announced where game day is going to be next Saturday, which is a little weird.
I'll figure that out.
Yeah. Like you said, Miami's still in the driver, or not necessarily in the driver's seat, but they're still alive in the ACC title race with a 38-10 win over Syracuse. I mean, it was a slow start, but they pull away late, just like a couple weeks ago against Stanford. In fact, I think you said yesterday that it was going to play out almost exactly how it did play out against Stanford, and sure enough, it does with Miami. Depending on where you got the spread, they do cover against Syracuse. If you got it earlier in the week, you might have been sweating it out, but if you got it right around like 28, it might have been no worse than a push.
I got it at 28.5. Those fuckers. Anyways, next week, just
the hook
just to
giveth,
throw it
the
out
hook
here.
taketh away.
Just throw something out here real quick, okay?
Okay.
These are the game day options that we currently sit with, okay? Notre Dame at Pitt. That'll be a likely a top 20 matchup based on results this weekend. Alabama and Oklahoma in Tuscaloosa. I have a hard time buying that they go back or go to another Bama game, but
I was about to say that they've been to Alabama, I believe, this year, and they've been to Georgia too.
Yeah, so they could go out west. They could go to Iowa USC next week. That game will still be pretty close, I think, but Iowa might drop out of the top 25. Hard to say. They played pretty good. I wouldn't particularly say they should be out, but and then they have Texas, Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to Texas, Georgia, or Notre Dame, Pitt. And
the opportunity's there for Notre Dame, Pitt. I think it's the time with which they would like to get that out of the way, because they're not going to go to the Miami Pitt game at the end of the year when there's other options on the table for rivalry week.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of deliberation going on about where they're going to be. By the way, it's a great weekend to have off. Thank God. He gave me such a great slate for this upcoming Saturday. I think they'll end up at Pitt this weekend.
I think so too. And I mean, here's the thing, it's another one of those weekends where you could just turn on ABC and keep it on all week or all day on Saturday, as long as you don't have YouTube TV. Able to.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Oh my goodness. Hopefully they're going to get that crap resolved, dude. I mean, I saw something like they're going to do a $20, like credit or whatever for those that have been affected.
Because that's what I want.
That's still just ridiculous. I want my fucking channels back. I don't want $20. I'll take the $20, but give the fucking channels back.
Yeah. Yeah. I had more TV with $35 a month than I do now with $80. So it's great.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Anyways, we left off there. So Wake Forest again beats Virginia. Cal beats Louisville. Vandy beats Auburn. We've talked about all those. Miami and Syracuse we talked about already. So let's go ahead and roll through the rest of our stuff. Starting with the group of 5. Army beat Temple 14-13 yesterday. That game went exactly as I expected it to. Ugly,
Mm-hmm.
and Temple was going to hang around, and that's what we got. I was
Mm-hmm.
pretty proud. I wish I'd have put that on my take 10 instead of some of the other shit I had. Could have been 7-3, maybe even 8-2.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, Rice beats UAB 24-17. Not surprised. That's kind of the way I expected that game to end up.
Mm-hmm.
East Carolina beats Charlotte 48-22. I should have went and taken the over in that game. I knew better, and I didn't touch it. But anyways, it's all right. FAU Tulsa 40-21. FAU wins. That was a take 10 pick yesterday. That was a big
Yep.
hit for us. No, I don't want that. This stupid shit.
How about Jacob Clark and Missouri State? They get to 4-1 in Conference USA play, and they upset Liberty 21-17.
I'm working my way there, but yes, big win for them. In this one, that's kind of a signature win this season, right? Liberty's been the talk of, or really the only conversation within the Conference USA, and
Mm-hmm.
they're pretty much out of it at this point. It is coming down to Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State. Those two teams are both undefeated in conference play. You got Missouri State that's 3-1, I believe.
I put some 4-1, yeah.
Yeah, I believe. Man, who am I trying to think of? There's somebody else in this conversation that's up here too, if I'm not mistaken. Western Kentucky is 5-1 in conference play.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's still a long way to
Yeah.
go in this conference, and we've got some matchups next week that I think are going to help that out as well.
Yes.
It includes Kennesaw and Jacksonville State. That's going to be for probably a
Oh,
lock
huge.
to the conference title game, and maybe even the host of the conference title game. The
Yeah,
winner of
and
that,
that's
and it's
getting
in Jacksonville.
ESPNU coverage next
Yes,
week.
as it should. And that's a big game
Mhm.
next weekend. I'm excited to tune in on that for sure. But nonetheless, that's your Conference USA situation, Missouri State there. Delaware beats Louisiana Tech 25-24, taking Louisiana Tech out of conference title contention completely there. That's a big win for Delaware. They are, if I'm not mistaken, now bowl eligible. Sorry, one win away from bowl eligibility in
Yeah.
their first year as an FBS member. Missouri State is bowl eligible with their win.
I was about to say, are either one of them allowed here in this
My
move up to
understanding,
FBS?
is yes, but I
Okay.
don't fully know. I don't have a proper answer on that. But the story. So I was listening to ESPN on Sirius XM yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the hosts on there is a Delaware alum, and he was saying that they're one win away from being able to go to a bowl game. So
Okay.
it sounds as though I think that rule has been kind of disbanded after the JMU fiasco. So I do believe, because Kennesaw State is also bowl eligible now. And they've talked about Kennesaw State being bowl eligible and able to compete for a conference title. So I believe that is correct, if I'm not mistaken there.
I'm looking at the Missouri State recap, and it doesn't say. It says 6 wins in his pocket and a guaranteed 500 season in his FBS debut campaign. Coach Ryan Beard and his Missouri State squad return home for homecoming.
I don't know if it's a storyline on. I don't say it's a storyline on ESPN, but I'll have to look elsewhere. Let's figure that out, and we'll talk about it another time.
I was looking at Missouri State's official website is what I was doing.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'll figure it out, and I'll get the right answer at some point.
Yeah.
FIU and MTSU 56-30 win for FIU. That game was pretty much what I expected that to be. MTSU has no defense, and FIU can score. So, I felt that one coming. Jacksonville State gets a close road win against UTEP to stay unbeaten in conference play. That's a big win for them. Kennesaw State remains unbeaten with a close win over New Mexico State, which they dominated the majority of. New Mexico State made a late charge.
Shutout in the second half.
Sam Houston in the win column. Good for you, Sam Houston. 21-17 win over Oregon State.
Only unwinnable team
Winless.
so far.
Jesus.
Yes. I know what I was trying to say. I know I was trying to say winless, but not undefeated, but unwinning.
Defeated.
Is kind of what I was.
Defeated.
But they're not undefeated. They're the ultimate defeated right now.
That's what I said. They are defeated. Undefeated means not defeated. Defeated means
all defeated.
So Bowling Green. We're going to MAC now. Bowling Green takes a loss to Eastern Michigan, 27-21.
Again, it just shows you that we don't know You really can't predict MAC games.
No, no, but that's two bad teams that nobody cares about, anyways.
Mhm.
Mountain West Air Force beats San Jose State 26-16. That's a big win for Troy Calhoun and the Falcons.
Yeah.
On this Veterans Day lead up.
Mhm.
Utah State gets a win over Nevada, 51-14. That was our take 10 pick. Utah State minus
Hit
9.5. We were more than a
big
hit.
time.
UNLV minus 4.5 against Colorado State. That's another hit. They win 42-10 over the Rams in Fort Collins. And then
This was
Hawaii.
the miss, though.
Well, I didn't. I mean, I missed it, but I didn't pick this game for take 10.
Right.
Hawaii 38-6 over San Diego State. Hawaii remains in play for conference championship
Mhm.
aspirations. San Diego State was previously undefeated. They now have their first loss in conference play. We'll see how that plays out, but the storylines are building up in some of these G5 races. Speaking of storyline builders, James Madison beats Marshall 35-23. Not really a whole lot to
That's a
add to
cover.
that. Just,
I would say that's a cover. Marshall did. Depending on where you look, we got 12 and a hook, and they lost by 12. So
Yeah. Well, it's not a cover if you pick JMU. Southern Miss at Arkansas State. Southern Miss gets it done 27-21, remain unbeaten. They will play Troy at the end of the year. That's kind of the competition for the Sun Belt West division. JMU and Coastal will play at the end of the year. Coastal Coastal minus 7.5. That's a hit. 40-27 victory over Georgia State. They remain a one-loss team in conference play. They're now 5-1. And then Louisiana survives a late charge from Texas State. 19 fourth quarter points from the Bobcats and a 42-39 loss at Louisiana. So the Cajuns move to 4-6, can remain capable of making a bowl game, and Texas State remains winless in conference play as they are set to leave for the Pac-12 next season.
Just crazy.
On to the ACC. SMU beats Boston College. That minus 10.5 for SMU was a big old hit. 45-13. I have a feeling you have a loss like that coming pretty soon in our Big East dynasty. As Boston
Ouch.
College.
What the hell?
Anyways, it's like Doyle. I have a feeling you're going down pretty soon. Or I have a feeling your whole family's going down. That's what it was. Anyways.
Keep talking, man. Keep talking.
I will. UConn host Duke over the weekend. Joe Fagiano, 22 touchdowns, no picks. He is continuing to ball here. Over 2,500 passing yards. He's, I think, 37th in QBR this year, according to ESPN. Man, what a game. And they beat Duke 37-34 at home in Rensselaer Field. What a win for Jim Moore, the UConn Huskies. Now, I'm not saying I'm hoping for anything bad for them, but I do certainly hope that when they play FAU, they lose so that FAU can get the over 4.5. Because that's all I need is one more win for FAU to get the over. So it'd be really nice, UConn, if you just take that one L for me, help me out, and we move on. North Carolina beats Stanford 20-15.
Just about as ugly as you'd think it would be.
Yeah, and then the second half of the Who Gives a Shit Bowl, Clemson beats Florida State 24-10, and really just dominated that entire game. That was,
there's going into that game yesterday, Florida State and Clemson had combined for about the same number of wins that UConn has this year.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Norvell, they're jumping into this coaching carousel. They are jumping in. They are not doing this another year. I'm telling you right now, Florida State is not doing this shit another year.
Yeah.
I'm very curious where this ends up, because that's going to be another big name in the race that has NIL, that has potential behind them.
Yeah.
There's just no way they continue to sell. They are now, what is it? 1 and...
Oh gosh, yeah.
Since
the undefeated season, 1-8, 1-12, 13. Hold on.
It's got to be 13. 1-13 now, I believe, because they did not win one last year, if I'm not mistaken, in conference play.
Yeah.
So they have to be. They are 1-13 over the last two seasons currently in ACC play.
Yeah, if it weren't for Wake last week, they'd be 0-14, 0-15.
Yeah,
Because let's see, they got 6 and they got 8, so that would be 1-13.
Jesus.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think Florida State is sooner rather than later going to have to make that decision, and I think they will make the decision that ultimately leads to Mike Norvell being fired. But that's
2023 starting to be more and more out of all the random ass type of runs. I mean,
it kind of shows what you can do with a quarterback, though. Truly,
yeah,
I
Jordan
mean,
Travis. Yeah.
like Jordan Travis was a good player. You had some decent guys that kind of broke out in that over the course of the year. Keon Coleman, of course. Like, it just shows if you get a few, especially in a conference like the ACC, you can end up running pretty decently. Moving to the Big 12, we talked Texas Tech over BYU. West Virginia 29-22 victory over Colorado. I saw somebody talk about Colorado point shaving at the end of that game. I know it was a joke, but it was just funny to listen to. West Virginia now 4-6, and the November march is real. I mean, this is a team that's I mean, they've got some room still to make some things happen. They obviously lost close last week at home to TCU, or 2 weeks ago at home to TCU, but that was at the end of the month. In the month of November, they are currently 2-0 with a game against Arizona State, winnable next Saturday on TNT. A bye week, and then they play Texas Tech at home. If there's a team that's going to get Texas Tech, I think West Virginia would be it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I predicted it preseason, though. I predicted a November March with which WVU goes 4-0 in November, if I'm not mistaken. I still think West Virginia can go 4-0 here in November.
It's very possible.
We'll see what happens as the year goes.
Very, very tough against Texas Tech.
Yeah. Arizona beats Kansas 24-20.
A late touchdown that gave the Wildcats the win.
And you want to talk about this next one?
I really don't. All I'm going to say is that I'm ready for Kendall Browse to go. That was bad from the moment it was made. If Clemson doesn't appreciate the nice tools they have at offensive coordinator and they want to can Garrett Riley at the end of this year, I'll be more than happy to have him back in Fort Worth. I'm sick and tired of this. This was just sloppy, inexcusable. A game that we should have won, and a game that we should have won.
What are you mad about with Kendall Browse specifically? Because I did not watch the game. Help me understand.
Stupid ass fucking play calling. There is no rushing attack. They just want to dink and dunk with the short passes. We've got good, capable running backs. The one big run that we had, that
play calling that leads to 422 total yards.
It's more than that. It's the predictability of it. If you watch this long enough, you're going to figure out the pattern that Kendall Browse does. And it seems like every time there's a pattern that the other team figures out. Iowa State, this is the type of game like Kentucky Auburn last week that set football back 150 years. It was sloppy. There was inexcusable points for both teams in this game, and just a piss poor effort in the fourth quarter after we went up 17-6. You should not lose that game. And I'm just sick of it. And if it's not something that they're going to address with the main man in charge, they're going to have to do something. And I think Kendall Browse is going to be the one that is going to get, going to get the short end of the stick. And I'm ready for it. Something's got to change.
I'm going to tell you right now to be careful what you wish for.
I think they'll give Sonny Dykes another year because of how many open positions there are this year.
I think you should seriously be careful what you wish for.
Well,
you should, because I'm just telling you right now, there are teams that would kill for Kendall Browse at OC right now. There are teams that would absolutely do anything it took to get Kendall Browse away from TCU. And unlike this last time around where you lose Garrett Riley and get Kendall Browse, you may not be so successful.
Right.
Like, trust me, there are things that could be worse. And having 432 yards of total offense with 2 interceptions thrown by a quarterback who's experienced enough to know not to make those decisions, blaming an offensive coordinator who is putting them in position for success, play in and play out. You ran the ball 3.8 yards per carry, which is the same number that Iowa State ran for in this game. Like, these teams were even, and the thing that killed them was turnovers at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I blame the decision making because we've seen Hoover put the ball in danger more this year than we've ever seen him do. This is a Josh Hoover issue. This is not a Kendall Briles problem. And to put the blame on somebody who's not on the field making the plays, he's calling good games. Week in and week out, you're scoring points.
I think it's an issue that's good. Hoover definitely has some, blame to be deserved as well. But I think that there's some blame on Kendall Briles too. It's not just this game. It's not just this game that has gotten me to this point.
23 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, on pace for about the same year he had last year with 27 and 11, maybe more on the touchdown side. Yeah. Already 2,600 yards, had 3,900 last year. Like, I genuinely don't see how you can put this completely on an offensive coordinator who has done as much as he's done for this program. And again, he kept them in the conversation post Garrett Riley. I mean, if it weren't, if it wasn't for the offensive play calling, this team probably goes worse than 5-7 the year after they make the playoff because the defense sucked. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think I get it. I get you're frustrated. I get you're a fan who, wants to see something different. But there are a lot of teams that would love to have a Kendall Briles right now. I know.
I get it.
I know my Gamecocks are one of them.
Right. I mean, I get it, but I mean,
seriously, South Carolina is trying to make a push.
Yeah.
But you look at what Kendall Briles did at Arkansas prior to that.
Yeah.
I mean, he has had success wherever he's been.
Based on what I've seen here over the last few weeks, TCU is going to be lucky that they got that win against West Virginia to get to 6 wins, because I don't think we're winning another game. I mean,
well, I hope you do, because I got an over 6.5 number here that I need to see touched. But
well, I mean, tell me if you think that we're winning at BYU next week, because I certainly don't. I don't think we're beating Houston the way we played yesterday, and I mean, Cincinnati at home maybe, but no, the way they're playing, I don't think so.
I think you get one. I think you get one of the last 3. I think you get 1 and 2 to end the year out the way things have been.
I'd love to, but I'm going to disagree with you.
That's fine, because you're a pessimistic Big 12 TCU fan. You do this every year. Anytime things turn south for TCU, you go on this fucking rampage route of tear the team up.
What did I say yesterday? Everybody was looking at TCU should, go clearing away. I said I'm worried about this game.
I heard you yesterday, but this is what you do every single time things turn south for TCU. You go against them anyways. You say it's going to be a rat poison game. You use your old reverse jinx. Because if they would have won yesterday, and I would have came in and said, "So trap game, huh?" And you say, "Well, the reverse jinx worked again." That's what you do every time.
I didn't believe it was a reverse jinx. I mean, Iowa State's more talented than a lot of people were giving them credit for going into yesterday.
I don't think anybody's discounting Iowa State with Matt Campbell and what they have. It's about turnovers. That's what's killed them all year. And it was not it wasn't a drastic turnover difference, by the way. It was 3 turnovers from TCU to 2 from Iowa State. I need to go back and look.
There were 2 picks. Yeah.
I need to go back and watch that game a little bit more when I have some time, because that was a night game. I was at work, only had 1 screen. I will, and I'll come back to you on what I thought.
I was to say, I mean, it was early on, the 2 picks that Hoover threw, one of which was in the red zone. I mean, you gotta. Those were, mistakes that, were able to be cleaned up on in the second half. We went up 17-6 early in the fourth quarter, and then it's the play calling. I'm telling you, when you watch the game, the play calling, especially defensively, I don't know what changed after TCU went up 17-6. It stagnates, and there's just I think that's the only way to fix it is there's got to be a change. But I'll let you do analysis and everything like that.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Figure out what you think, but. It just, I mean, I'm ready.
Okay. Moving on to the Big Ten, we've covered everything ranked team-wise. Rutgers gets a 35-20 victory over Maryland. This game started, we thought, Malik Washington had this big touchdown run, and we're like, okay, that's going to be a fuck did I say was going to happen? What the fuck did I say was going to happen when Russell Wilson came in the game? You said Rutgers was going to win. No, I said when Russell Wilson came in the game, we're going to lose.
Oh.
And Caleb Williams just ran it in. 23-20. Bears lead.
Jeez.
All right, 35-20. Rutgers wins. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen, but Malik Washington early in that game looked really good. Things just kind of snowballed from there, though. Rutgers took care of business, took care of the ball, and get a big home win. That puts them at 5-5 with
Mm-hmm.
Ohio
Ohio
State and
State
Penn State
and
remaining. I think
yeah.
Rutgers can make a bowl game. I think they can get there.
Let me give you this bold prediction. I think the winner of Penn State and Rutgers is going to be a bowl team because Penn State's got Michigan State, and I just can't remember who the second game is here coming up. It's Nebraska. But based on what I saw from Nebraska, yesterday, without Raiola, they, it's one of those things that if you can kind of limit their rushing attack, and I think they get them at home, it's a
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that real quick. Nebraska with a
Yeah.
28-21 win over UCLA. A lot of that coming from the back of Emmett Johnson with his 3 total
Mm-hmm.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
129 yards and a touchdown on the ground on 4.6 per carry. Added another 103 on 3 catches for 2 touchdowns in the receiving category. You limit 21 and you're limiting this Nebraska offense, I think. That's a game, that's a storyline you can't really predict, or you don't really predict at any point. I think
Yeah.
that Nebraska played the game they needed to. UCLA did a hell of a job. They stuck around. They were close in this one. Took care of the ball. It just came down to the fact that they're just having a hard time running the ball. 86 yards on the ground from Nico, but
Yeah.
Javian Thomas is your second leading rusher with 39 yards and 3 yards per carry. It's just the UCLA's kind of been that inconsistent back and forth team. We'll see what happens going forward for Nebraska, but yeah, I certainly think that Penn State can win that game. Depends on how they
Mm-hmm.
limit the run game.
Yeah.
And SEC, we've covered everything but Kentucky splattering Florida. I knew that the
By the way,
receiver lost would be a problem, but wow,
man,
wow,
holy crap.
they lost every bit of offense they had going for them without Dallas Wilson, which I think is a bigger loss than Eugene Wilson.
Yeah.
And that you lose him for the season, but I'd say it's a tough look for Florida, already in a bad spot, and just continuing to kind of go downhill. What were you going to
Yeah.
add?
No kidding. I was gonna say, I don't know if we mentioned it with the Vanderbilt game, but Vanderbilt 8-2 for the first time since before Pearl Harbor in 1941.
Oh, well,
So I want to make sure give recognition for that.
hopefully the pattern doesn't stick. Um,
Gosh,
that wasn't meant like that. I was just saying,
I
hopefully.
know, I know
I'm
what
just
you meant.
hoping
Like,
that
I
it
know you
doesn't.
didn't mean
I just hope it doesn't do that, and that's all.
right. I hope it doesn't
Um,
happen again. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, that's our run through the college world at this very moment. Let's see here. Did any FCS deal happen? Harvard
I was just saying,
remains undefeated, by the way, 8-0. They have a pretty clear path. They beat Penn, and they'll be making their way to the FCS playoffs.
yeah, Lehigh is undefeated at 10-0 themselves.
Yeah,
At,
Lehigh is
31.
dominating football games. By the way, they got one more to go. They 2 more. Sorry, they have
Yeah.
Colgate next week, this Saturday, and then they will
Mm-hmm.
play Lafayette in that big rivalry game. Which,
Mm-hmm.
hey, if we're looking for an 11-22 game day appearance, go to Lafayette, please. I'd love to see that, especially if
It
Lehigh's
would be
11-0
awesome.
going into that thing. Let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
do it. I don't know what week 12 brings or week 13 brings for the majority in the world. We'll look at that later, but
Yeah.
I'll stunt for that.
Tennessee Tech is undefeated. They beat
Yep.
Eastern Illinois 21-9.
Yeah, and their path is very very similar. Kentucky next week, they're probably going to lose. They're probably going to fall to
Mm-hmm.
10-1. But they get UT Martin, who's 5-5. They're likely going to run the table in FCS play, which is a
Yeah.
huge win for them.
Yeah. I mean, that Tennessee UT Martin Tennessee Tech game is going to be for all the marbles
Yeah.
in the OVC Big South.
Big time upset in my neck of the woods yesterday. Davidson at 2-8 now with a win over Presbyterian, who has fallen to 8-2. 14-13. The Wildcats get it done.
North Dakota State holds off North Dakota with a late touchdown to move to 10-0.
Yeah, and South Dakota State not so lucky with their loss to South Dakota as well.
Wow.
So
Montana gets Eastern Washington fumbles the spike late in one of the crazier innings you'll see. They're in the red zone. They got to spike the ball with under 10 seconds before he can spike it. He fumbles it. Montana recovers, and Montana holds on for a 29-24 win over Eastern Washington.
yeah, South Dakota, by the way,
How about
that score in Vermilion was 24-17 over those Jackrabbits.
SFA moves to 6-0 in Southland play with a 50-3 win over Houston Christian.
Lamar
Let's
in
see
Southeast
here.
Louisiana had a pretty big Southland game too. 14-12,
Yeah.
Lamar gets it done.
UT Rio Grande Valley also getting a big time win at home over
I
Nichols.
swear to God, if I ever see Russell Wilson on the fucking field again for this team, I'm gonna lose my mind. I don't ever want to see that motherfucker again. Take him out back.
I understand.
UC Davis with a win over Idaho, 28-14. They remain in the conversation.
And what about? Did I say Mercer over Western Carolina? Mercer moves to 7-0 in Southern play and 8-1 on the year. They
8-2.
hold off a late. Yeah.
8-2.
I know.
Sorry, I'm not accepting.
We'll never forget week 0.
I'm not accepting it, dude. I refuse. That is
get it.
bullshit.
I get it. 49-47 over the Catamounts of Western Carolina. Tarleton must have the week off because and Abilene Christian should not have deleted their post, man. That just still boggles the mind.
What they delete?
Because Tarleton is not a state. That they after Abilene Christian pulled off the upset last week, they posted a tweet or a post on X that was that said Tarleton is not a state with the final score graphic or something like that, and it was funny and it's true. And then they felt like they had to delete it or something like that. Like
I'm sure
so
somebody
stupid.
was a little upset about that.
I don't give a crap. There's nothing that's offensive or wrong with what they posted. It's so stupid. The world we live in where Abilene Christian cannot celebrate beating undefeated 9-0, number 2 in the country, Tarleton State, 31-28, and pointing out the correct fact that they're not a state.
Also, ESPN app, I appreciate you so much for not showing me rankings in the FCS world. I just can't imagine.
That's ridiculous.
I can do it on my computer. I can find them there, but I can't find them on the app. It's on my phone.
Yeah,
incredible.
I was just say they don't have them in the scores when you go and look.
No,
you got to look at you got to go scoreboard and rankings.
Yeah. All right, let's close the show out real quick with a quick little conversation.
Okay.
I believe we have a 3-man race for the Heisman right now. 3, and that's it. Julian Sayin, Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson. Any disagreements?
I think that's fair. That's fair.
Now, hear me out. I will welcome a 4th to this conversation. I did not intend to, but I will because I'm feeling a little generous. And maybe we'll have a conversation about this toward depending upon the way their season closes out in the final 3. I'm not going to for the simple fact that I think he's got too many turnovers. I was going to add Marcel Reed, but they beat Texas, possibility. But we'll hold off on that for now. As a matter of fact, I'm more willing, believe it or not, to throw Mario Craver on the Heisman list than I am Marcel Reed. Actually, I'm more intrigued to throw Craver or Concepcion on the list than I would be Marcel Reed personally. But that's another story for a totally different time. What we can do, though, let's talk about these guys real quick, okay? Julian Sayin leads the country in completion percentage, and it's not particularly close. 80% completion percentage. Great. 2,400 yards. Great. 2,491 to be specific. 24 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Great numbers. 91 QBR. Leads the country. No surprise. I don't think anybody should be. That's all fine and dandy. I'm going to actually look something up here because I'm curious of a specific stat that I should have looked up earlier. Am I logged in? No, but I will be. Sorry, I got to log into PFF on my phone. My bad. Give me a second. I'm looking for a specific stat that I can't find anywhere else. Okay. This is the stat that I was looking for, and just let me write it down real quick.
All right.
Gotta find all my guys here. I gotta scroll down just a little bit. Okay. I was just curious about what this number would look like. So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Julian Sagan's numbers. Now I will add another number at the very end of this because it'll all go together here in a second after we compare the numbers themselves. Oh, JJ's leading a fourth quarter drive with 30 seconds to go. Cool. Let's see if that breaks my heart too. Fernando Mendoza is a 71.3 completion percentage with 2342 yards, 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 88.1 QBR. Okay. Ty Simpson, 66.9%, 2461, 21 touchdowns to 1 interception. 81.3 QBR. By the way, I'm pretty sure that interception, did that not come against Florida State?
I think you're right. I think it did.
So, all right. Now, the last stat I was going to throw in here, because I was very curious about these guys, right? I was like, okay, so Julian Sands, 80.9%. What is his average depth of target? Like, how deep is he throwing the ball down the field on these passes? Julian Sands' average depth of target is 8.7. Mendoza's is 9.2, and Simpson's is 8.9. Take you one step further into this discussion real quick. Strength of schedule, I think, has to mean something in some of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very obvious. I think we can all sit back and agree. Ohio State has had the easiest path so far.
Yes.
Any slight disagreement? I'm open to it. I'm open to it. I'm genuinely. This is a discussion. This is not a shit on Julian Sands segment. This is just a genuine, like, let's have a conversation segment.
And I mean, they haven't had to, honestly.
Fernando Mendoza and his numbers. Indiana has played games against Oregon on the road. Just took a tough road game against Penn State. Had a huge game, 63-point showing against Illinois. Ohio State has Illinois. I think Illinois, we can agree, Texas and then Illinois for Ohio State as toughest games so far.
Yeah.
I think those just simply because Texas tough no matter what, right? Tough defense to play. Illinois road game, it's the toughest road game they've played to this point.
Yeah.
As for Mendoza, home game against Illinois, that's your common opponent. Your other common opponent, Penn State. And then you have again that road game against Oregon. I think Indiana's current top 2 don't quite match up with Ohio State's. Well, yeah, they do actually. Yeah. Oregon's better than Texas, which is Ohio State's best. Yeah. Illinois matches up perfectly, right? Ty Simpson is with his stats that have been mentioned, with games against LSU, Florida State. We'll count Florida State, just that first game was kind of interesting. We can talk about Georgia having been on that schedule. We can talk about their game.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure I have the schedule pulled together, right? So, forgive me. I just want to make sure I have the numbers right, because obviously Alabama is probably a team I've seen less of. Somehow, I don't think that's true, but anyways. So Florida State, we'll talk about Wisconsin. I guess that's a common opponent with Ohio State. Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, LSU. But yet Ty Simpson's not getting more Heisman love. I mean, he's doing what he's doing. He's putting up these numbers against some of the best defenses, some of the better defenses, arguably, than Ohio State and Indiana have faced. Minus Oregon. But even then, Oregon and Georgia match up pretty close in terms of total defense. And I would argue that Georgia has played a better schedule than Oregon has. As a defense, anyways. So when I look at these three, I think there is a genuine conversation to have, right? We can talk about the numbers. We can talk about the incredible numbers that Julian Sands put up. 80% completion percentage. That's good. I don't care if you're doing that at Ohio State playing against FCS teams. That's a good completion percentage. We have not seen many people put that number up. Remember, J.J. McCarthy just set this record a couple years ago against Michigan and wasn't even
Yeah.
in the Heisman conversation.
Yeah.
And it came down to the fact that the numbers weren't good enough, for one. Um, but it also came down to the fact that they didn't do it all through the air. Blake Corum was more of a Heisman contender.
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. If it's me voting right now, I love what Julian Sagan's done. I think he is the most consistent, or one of the most consistent quarterbacks in college football. I like what Mendoza's done, and I think there's a lot of people who really want to have him on this list. I think there's a lot of people who want to have him win the Heisman, coming from
Yeah.
Indiana, coming from a school that just doesn't get that conversation very often.
The most losingest school in college football history, mind you.
I think
At
there's a
least
lot of people.
until I think this past weekend.
I think there's a lot of people that want to see that happen, right? But if I'm being completely honest, if I'm looking at the entire body of work, if I'm looking at what Ty Simpson's done, taking care of the football, adding to this team, the Heisman Trophy is about the most outstanding quarterback, essentially, at this point.
Right.
Um, has Ty Simpson not put up the resume? I think Alabama's Ty Simpson should be the Heisman favorite right now. That's just, I mean, those are just the facts based on what we have seen. I mean, he has not. I'm going to go back and make double sure. Ty Simpson did not throw that interception against Florida State, by the way. That was not correct.
Yeah, I was about to say, and even if he did, do you think anybody at this point remembers his stat line precisely from that game? He looked, the thing that if you're a college football junkie like we are, and we're, without having to go back and look at the stat sheet, what I remember most about that
His
game,
one interception
Alabama
was
did
against
not have.
Vanderbilt, by the way. His
Okay,
one was against
okay,
Vanderbilt.
that's
He
right.
has
You're
been
right.
essentially flawless, and minus the game against South Carolina, with which they just struggled on the road. He has thrown for over 50% in every game, over 60% in every game outside of South Carolina and Florida State.
Yeah, and both those
Down
were road
completion
games,
percentage
and
games happen, but he was still a 250 plus yard passer. He's thrown for over 250 in all but one game this year. I just don't see him as a non contender there. I just don't. And
right.
let's not forget, like, he's added at least a little bit of an element on the ground too in certain games. They've utilized him a little bit more that way. I watched him run a play last night, that reminded me a lot of what Vandy does, which is they
Yeah.
run essentially like this RPO read option, which he keeps the ball and takes off as if he's going to run, and then last second tosses it over to the wide receiver. They got like 6 or 7 yards out of that play, and it was just because he made the right decision there. But it's essentially an extension of the triple option. Really cool play design. I think it's a lot of fun to use, but it certainly has its moments. I don't think that went down as passing yards because it was a backwards pass, but nonetheless, like, it's little plays like that, right?
Right.
I just truly don't. I don't see how we are looking at this and just completely writing off Ty Simpson as a Heisman contender or a front runner even.
Right, and I maybe not front runner, but absolutely, I think for me, I think that it's one of those. It just really depends on, if you're a voter, what you've been watching the most of. If you've been watching a ton of SEC games, then you probably have Ty Simpson number one. I know for you and I who watch games from all over the country, you've got Simpson number one. I still right now I would give the slight edge. I'm in agreement. I think that Sands getting a lot of elevation and maybe not trying to badmouth him or his team or anything like that. But for me, I think my race would be Mendoza 1, Simpson 2, and Sand 3 for the moment. But that's
It
not
blew
to
my
say
mind when they were talking about saying as like the favorite going into the weekend.
right.
And then because of that final drive against Penn State, Mendoza's now the favorite all of a sudden. And it's like, okay, but Ty Simpson's
Yeah.
been consistent all year long. He's done everything everybody's asked him to do. He just doesn't have a completion percentage to match, but he has the numbers everywhere else to match.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that, I guess what's looked at as the Heisman moment for Mendoza, and that's why he's getting a ton of love this weekend. with that touchdown pass to win it late, maybe. But who's to say that, with a great performance against Oklahoma next week in a big time showing for Alabama, that Ty Simpson couldn't vault right back up to being the favorite.
Yeah, I mean it's
I think it's
interesting.
enough of a conversation, and it's in enough of flux and could fluctuate week to week at this point. I don't feel like last year we talked about it being, I think at this point it was a two-man race between Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty, and there really wasn't a whole lot, even with the way that the season finished out, that Ashton Jeanty could do for a lot of people to overtake Travis Hunter. I think that this is a three-man race, and I think that it won't truly be decided until probably the conference championship weekend. Whoever,
Let me
if Julian Sayin or Fernando Mendoza has a like a game of the year type of thing, and it's enough to overshadow what Ty Simpson, if Alabama makes it to the SEC title game, is doing, I mean, that may be what the difference at the end of the day is.
let me pose a question real quick.
Okay.
If Alabama's unbeaten right now, having won that Florida State game, is Ty Simpson the favorite with this stat line? I think we all know.
That thought crossed my mind
I
too.
think we all know
and
that is probably tendering Alabama in a handful of ways, right? Because
I think
that's a
that's
bad loss at this point, right?
right. I think that's absolutely fair. I think that thought did cross my mind, that if Alabama was undefeated like Ohio State and Indiana, or he might be in number one. But like you said, it really is just one of those things that
I don't
I
think we
think
can
it would.
call it voter fatigue. Like Alabama hasn't had
No,
anybody in this conversation for years. I
since
mean, since
2020.
2021, Bryce Young won it. Remember, but
Right. Yeah,
like they
that's right.
haven't,
Sorry.
but they haven't had anybody in the conversation really since Bryce Young, and
Yeah.
this team has not been at the top of the sport since Bryce Young. I mean, they lost the national championship game, and that was kind of
Mm-hmm.
their point there. Like this is, to me, I mean, I find it hard to believe that we're just not acknowledging it whatsoever. I really think that deserves more of a look than I think it's getting.
Yeah.
But
And I think that's perfectly fair. Like I said, I'm not so opposed to it that I wouldn't, move it around. But right now, for me, I think ever so slightly, I've got Mendoza and then Simpson.
I think that's fair.
But
I think Mendoza's
yeah,
had more of the flashy moments. They've had flashier
right,
games and results.
yes,
I can get behind that. I'm not opposed to that line of thinking.
yeah,
I just think that we're talking about like an all around performance, right? Like Simpson's taking care of the ball.
yeah,
They're
and
putting the ball in
and
the end zone. Like they're just
yeah,
playing a tougher schedule. I don't see why we're
mm-hmm,
punishing a quarterback for succeeding at this level against the schedule they face this point.
right. And I think the biggest thing that might be punishing him is that some of those passes, like you mentioned, that
Should
don't
have added
count
a
towards his
Kennesaw State
stats.
on the schedule or something.
What's that?
I said they should have added a Kennesaw State to the schedule or something.
Right. Instead of Florida State, they
Yeah.
should have played Kennesaau State. Maybe. I
Yeah.
mean, here's the thing: the way that Simpson uses that passing attack right at the line of scrimmage to enhance the rushing game, it makes them a better team overall. And maybe it's not flashy for him as a quarterback, as a receiver, or not as a with his numbers, everything like that, but it gives them it makes them more of a threat. And that's exactly what I feel like you want your quarterback to be, is somebody that you don't know whether it's going to be a run, you don't know whether it's going to be a pass to, enhance the run, or if they're going to go ahead and take that
Yeah.
downfield shot. You can't ever truly, play, you know, football
Well,
in the sense that you can, cheat to try to stop one thing, because they're so
we
stacked
sat
that
here
they're.
last year and punished Ashton Jeanty for the schedule. That's why he didn't win the
Hmm.
Heisman. I mean, I think we can all
Yeah,
agree with
I
that.
think that's fair. Yeah.
So why is this year getting a different look? Because it's an Indiana quarterback? Because it's an Ohio State quarterback? I mean, that's my question
Right.
to the masses right now, to those
Yeah.
who are sitting here calling these guys the favorites. We punished Ashton Jeanty last year. He did not win the
Hmm.
Heisman simply off of strength of schedule.
Yeah.
If that is, in fact, the baseline we're putting together, the best strength of schedule in this conversation by far is Ty Simpson, and he has numbers that match or relatively close to match against better defenses, against better competition. and there's still 3 weeks to go with those opportunities still ahead. I mean, they still have a big game with Oklahoma Saturday. That's not
Mm-hmm.
going to be understated. How important that game is going to be, and that's a good defense. Another 250 and 3 touchdown day there. I mean, is he going to be the favorite, or does he need to lead a game-winning touchdown drive for it to be the favorite? I mean, what's the story that we're going off of here? What makes a guy a favorite in the Heisman race? I mean, that's a question that we ask every year. And I don't know if the voters change every year. Forgive me for that lack of knowledge, but it's gonna be interesting to watch. I'm curious to see where we go with this. So appreciate you
Absolutely.
obliging my time on that one.
Yeah, of course.
Thought it was a worthwhile discussion.
I think it is, and like you said, I mean, you've laid out the case. Now, like you said, if there was an accountability, like you mentioned, where I don't know if it's just
Now,
one of
if
those
we
things
went
that
and understand that if we went based solely off a strength of schedule, SEC players or a Big Ten player would win it
would
every year.
always win it. Yeah,
But
mm-hmm.
like, I think we have to acknowledge that there is a disparity between the two, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
like,
Right.
for example, I'll throw this out there, and this is not as anything other than for simplistic results, right? Justice Haynes was probably in the Heisman conversation prior to his injury, and prior to that injury, he had 100 yards in every single game. He was tearing teams apart, and he was playing better schedule, a better strength of schedule, arguably, than anybody else, especially when it comes to the run defenses that they faced, right? Teams that also load the box to play the run against Michigan and still can't get it done. To me, it just feels as though that's kind of like that would be the guy in the conversation too, if there was a fourth, based on that. Hard to say. I mean, it's an award that the parameters change year to year based on the competition for it. We didn't see a great quarterback candidate last year. We don't really see. We see 3 solid ones, but we don't see a great quarterback candidate. We don't see somebody who's just coming out here and tearing everybody apart. And maybe that's part of why. Maybe that's why Julian's saying, just because he's putting the stat lines up and he's doing the things right. But I can't quite buy saying it number 1 or 2. And I'm not saying it can't be. If they go out and dominate Michigan and he has 250 and 2 touchdowns, I'm probably okay with saying being in that conversation. Yeah. But it just, I need to see a reason to believe it, and not just because we said so and because that's the parameter we're using this year. Like, I think that there's other guys who have a better conversation.
I honestly, to me, I still feel like I would give more love to Jeremiah Smith over Julian Sand, but I understand why they don't.
But I don't know. Does he have the stat lines to do it?
I mean,
look, he's getting the attention of everybody.
Yeah.
But he's not putting up the numbers.
Yeah.
That's what this award is. It's a numbers award, and it's really a quarterback numbers award. And if there's not the quarterback with the numbers, then they got to find somebody else. But it's a numbers game. Mm-hmm. If you're not putting up the numbers, nobody gives a shit if you're double covered all game. And that's the deal that Jeremiah Smith got for the rest of his college career. Is he's going to be double teamed every single time we turn around. There's no question about it. But it's certainly. Again, it's just a numbers game in terms of who's going to win the Heisman. Now, the Biletnikoff conversation, sure, but I think there's other guys who are even winning that conversation right now versus Jeremiah Smith. Unfortunately, that's the nature. He's not going to walk out as decorated as he probably should be because he's covered all the time. He's not outstanding. He's not making anything crazy happen. But teams are playing against him. Teams are game planning against Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, I mean, he's 6th in both receiving yards and receptions, and tied for 2nd in the country in touchdowns.
Yeah,
as a receiver,
he's electric when he gets the ball. I'm not denying it. I'm just saying that I think that it's just the world that we face here when it's really a stat and instant gratification type of world.
Yes.
So we'll see. But anyways, with that said, we've been about an hour and a half, and I really think it was time well spent. So
I think so too.
BJ, I appreciate you, man.
What's on tap for this week, preview wise? What are you thinking?
Well, I think it's got to be a 4 preview week. We got 4 solid games. Now I may cut it to 3. I may only do 3 this week because I think maybe
Mm-hmm.
Iowa USC doesn't quite have the playoff
Yeah.
caliber potential that it does, but it might get a recap.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly got to be Texas Georgia. I think we certainly have to
Mm-hmm.
touch that game. Um, have to touch on Bama and Oklahoma, and I think we have to touch on Pitt and Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for that game. Very excited.
Oh, absolutely. I
Um,
mean,
yeah, I like I like where we're sitting with that one right now. So we'll see
yeah.
what it
And
brings.
you got you know, um yeah, you got a big day for ABC with all three of those games back to back to back. Might not be one that people change the channel if they tune in, you know, first thing crack at noon and leave it on for the entire day.
Say that one more time. Sorry, I was reading something. I'm gonna have to ask you a little question here in a second, but go ahead.
Okay. I was just gonna say, it was I would say it's gonna be a big day for ABC. It's one of those where you turn on the TV first thing at the crack of noon and leave it on for the entirety rest of the day. Um, with those three matchups all back to back to back.
Yeah.
So
Um. Sorry, I'm looking for a little bit of a thing here. Let's see if I can find it here. What was this? Forgive me. I'm looking for. Did I not hit the right thing here? Is it this year? Sorry, I just read something and I'm trying to get a little more information before I just got here and
it's okay.
flap gums about it, but it must be 2027. No, it's not even 2027. Am I just missing something? Like,
It's possible. Okay, so they did announce here in the last 20 minutes that game day is headed to Pittsburgh. So it will be Notre Dame Pitt Saturday, as kind of suspected.
oh, here it is. Okay, I see what's happening. Okay, so this is something that's close to you, close to Clay
Okay.
too. That's why I got it sent to me by Clay, and now I have to read it. Um, 4-star athlete, Legend Bay,
Mm-hmm.
Cristobal to flip to Ohio State. What would they be
Oh,
getting out of this quarterback that you
well,
have seen?
I've seen him, and I mean, here's the thing: when we played them early enough in the season that they were still just utilizing him at quarterback, he's a phenomenal athlete. But here's what I've seen over the last few weeks that has really like been, you know, a little mind blowing. Because here's the thing: they can win without him at quarterback, but they're so much better when he's at quarterback. They've utilized him in receiving threat to, you know, when they needed a play made downfield, they just throw it to him in space and let him go get a, you know, first down on a 3rd and 21 that helped them put a seal of victory over Longview. They have utilized him on defense at times, and you know, thankfully not too much, but this is a, you know, this is a legitimate dude, and I'm
So
really
this
not
is
surprised that Ohio State has come to calling, but I really thought that he was going to stick with Tennessee because I mean, he's got the chance to be something really, really special over there in Knoxville if he does stay committed to them.
so is he more likely? So here's the thing though. If he goes to Ohio State, if he flips to Ohio State, this is a wide receiver.
I don't. Here's the thing: if he flips to Ohio State, I don't think that he's going to be a receiver. I think that they're going to utilize him as a as a running back or as a quarterback that can run.
He
Because
won't. He will not play
you know,
quarterback at Ohio State. I'm telling you right now, he will
yeah,
not play
I don't
quarterback
think
at Ohio
so.
State. So Mike, so
He's got the
he's
size
gonna,
for it though.
but he's not going to.
Right.
Here's what I'm telling you, okay? And this is why I'm explaining this the way I am.
Okay.
Ohio State is loaded in the quarterback room. Julian Saban's there
Hmm.
for a couple years. Still, probably this year, next
Yeah.
year, maybe a third year. Um, you have Lincoln Keenholz in that conversation. He's likely the backup until he decides to transfer out. That's likely to happen. If he's not going to be the one to transfer, Tavian St. Clair, I think, is going to transfer. I do not see him staying at Ohio State for any amount of time with the talent that he has. He is a local product to me. I am very excited to see what his career holds because I think he has some serious potential. I want him to go elsewhere. I think he needs to go elsewhere. We already saw Aaron Nolan transfer out. He's now at South Carolina.
Yeah.
This quarterback room is too loaded, I think, for a player like this. If he's truly in the conversation as a quarterback, Ohio State's not the place to go. Here's the other problem. Was Tennessee ever the place to go? Why do I ask that question? Faison Brandon is going to come in and likely start immediately for Tennessee next year. I don't see a world where he doesn't, personally.
Right.
So Tennessee may not even be playing this as a quarterback play.
It's also one of those that you have to ask yourself. I mean, Legend Bay would be in that kind of quarterback mold that we saw from Hendon Hooker more so than any quarterback that we've seen here over the last few years. They've really opened things up and wanted to be more of the rushing attack and throwing the ball out in space. And that's not what Legend Bay does. Legend Bay is one that is such a dual threat with both the arm. You know, I think his best attribute is his legs as opposed to his arm.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a person that like you said, he may not stick at quarterback. That's why he's listed as an athlete. But they've used him more as a quarterback here over the last few years, and really as of late have just tried to get him the ball as a playmaker in space at times in critical moments, and then had him out there on defense for a couple of snaps. I think here in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I can't remember.
I have a hard time
exactly
believing like if this is a quarterback play or if this is a guy that's going to go play QB anywhere, he's not going to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
So there's clearly a different idea in mind. Now the other thing is he likely going to go to Tennessee and play quarterback? The answer there's probably no too. I don't see Faison Brandon not starting unless he gets hurt. I just don't see that happening. So for me, it feels as though he was always going to be just kind of an athlete, come in, play where he's asked to play, wherever he fits the most, wherever he develops the best. And in both of these systems, he seems like more of a receiving kind of a guy than a QB, just based on what they have there. Because he's just not going to come in and play at Ohio State. Not a QB. So it's just, again, a question to be had. I have a... Also, by the way, that 10-200 meters is fucking nasty, by the way. That is unreal type of speed. Like, he's 100% going to play wide receiver. He's going to play wide receiver.
Yeah. And I mean, he's a receiver that you can't, overlook possibly going in there in the backfield or being lined up as a wildcat quarterback too. I mean, he's got stuff that, opens up for a playbook with him out there. So I didn't even realize that he was crystal ball to flip at this point.
Yeah. I just saw it. It just came in.
Okay, interesting.
So now, last closing
Must have
note.
been very recent.
Rico Dowdle did not get flagged today for a celebration.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot.
I think he stayed under. I think he stayed under the 2-pump maximum. So I think we're good.
Okay.
But at least, I mean, we were all told it was 2 pumps. So you can't do a third. It was 2. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers agreed it was 2. Well, Aaron Rodgers did 2
last week and got flagged.
It's my favorite. So, dude, Aiden Hutchinson about snagged that shit out of the air to the point with which I probably would have lost my mind. That was unbelievable. I'm talking like he stuck a left paw out and almost took that ball and ran it to the house. That would have been incredible.
How about a 26-0 fourth quarter burst from the Texans to come from behind and steal a win from the Jaguars at home, 36-29.
Yeah. 26 pressures on the year, 7 sacks and 4 forced fumbles, leads the NFL in both pressures and forced fumbles this year.
Man.
Aiden Hutchinson. Dog. All right.
Crazy.
With that said, let's go ahead and get out of here. Hour 45. We had a good show. Thank you for
It was a good
jumping
show.
in here. Appreciate you as always being here and being my sounding board on Saturdays and Sundays. We'll be back tomorrow, of course. I'll release a brand new top 25. I'll talk about some of the other conversations that we've seen around the country. We'll get ready for a new top 25 this week in the playoff ranking, the playoff committee's rankings. Really excited. I think there's a fun week ahead of content coming out here on the channel. So make sure if you're new around here, you subscribe, like, and let us know what you guys think of everything we talked about here today. Appreciate y'all so much, and we'll see you tomorrow for an episode of Armchair Analysis.